Sorry, sis. Not just your husband, but I ended up taking your house too. Thank you. With a beaming smile, she delivered these devilish words. Such laughter is only for now. The sister who stole the dream of a newly built single-family home and a happy family. A foolish husband who abandoned his family deceived by his sister. There is absolutely no future where those two will be happy. I have decided to fight for the sake of my daughter. I am Ashley, 33 years old. My husband, Paul, is 35 years old. Our daughter, Mia, turned 5 this year. Paul and I met at the same workplace. Though we were in different departments, we had mutual acquaintances and got along well. Which led to our marriage. Recently, something joyful happened. Despite the hardships of both of us working and managing childcare and household chores, we finally managed to acquire our long-desired new home. We were meticulous about the floor plan and interior. And Mia and I even chose the color of the wallpaper for her room. We were all excited about living in this new home that we had dreamed of. Until that incident. Wow. It's so big and beautiful. The visit by my twin sister, Stacy, was truly sudden. Though we are identical twins and look very much alike, our personalities are completely different. She is sociable and adept at everything. As for me, I was shy and preferred reading books over playing with friends. She used to come to my classroom with her friends just to ridicule me. Are you really twins? You look a bit alike, but you're so different. Stacy is cuter. My friend said this while looking at me, the plain one with thick glasses. And Stacy happily responded. It seems I got all the good parts when I was born, sorry, big sis. A past I'd rather not remember. Because of such a relationship, we hadn't been in touch at all since becoming adults. Naturally, I hadn't told her about the new house either. Yet, here she was, out of the blue. My sister was mysteriously hyperactive, but I was just bewildered. I went home after a long time, and Mom told me that Big Sis had built a house. So I wanted to give a moving-in present and asked for the address. And what about that gift? As if hearing my internal voice, my sister laughed and answered. Ah. Of course the gift is a lie. Obviously, why would I need to give you anything? At home and at school, they called me a sister, and when we were together, she always referred to me as a yo. I could only sigh at her unchanged maliciousness. Ah. I see. Well, if you've finished your tour, could you please leave? My husband and child will be back soon, and it's almost lunchtime. Today is a holiday, and the two of them will return from the nearby park soon for a family-only lunch. Oh, then I'll wait and have lunch before I go back. Impossible to share a meal together. Absolutely impossible. I only made enough for a certain number of people. I'll take your portion then, since I'm the big sister. Over 30 years old and still shamelessly asserting her position as the younger sister. And claiming to be the elder due to being born a few minutes earlier. I'm home. With Mia's voice, the living room door opened, and in came my husband holding hands with her. They both looked at my sister with surprise. She looks just like Mom. I hadn't told my daughter that her aunt was her twin. My sister greeted everyone with a smile and voice that she usually reserves for others. Hello. I'm Stacy, your twin sister. Nice to meet you. Sorry to disturb you, brother-in-law. I didn't want to contact this sister, introduce her, have a wedding, or communicate after giving birth, so this was their first meeting. Ah. Hello. Nice to meet you. I had explained about my sister to my husband. That's why he had a look of, "Why is she here?" on his face. But he seemed somewhat pleased as well. My sister, with her long eyelashes and clear double eyelids, and her makeup done perfectly, looks younger than her actual age. Her hair is carefully curled, and she wears tight clothes that emphasize her large chest. Meanwhile, I was in my pajamas all day, doing housework, with my hair sloppily tied and looking disheveled. With a tired face and swollen features, wearing thick glasses and no makeup. My sister definitely looks more attractive. Unable to speak up in front of my daughter, we ended up having lunch together. My sister completely ignored my interested daughter and talked only to my husband throughout the meal, laughing in a high-pitched voice. "Paul, you're really funny. And you dress well, you must be popular. Why did you marry my sister?" She looked back and forth between my husband and me with a "why her" expression. Indeed, my husband is more sociable and dresses fashionably, and has a cheerful personality. So he is quite popular at work. But he is surprisingly shy with the opposite sex, and I was his first relationship. Because he's not used to it, he's completely taken in by my sister's flattery. No, I'm not popular at all. Stacy, you're cute, you must be really popular, right? What is this, a mixer? It's disgusting. What was supposed to be a relaxing holiday became a time of sheer endurance. What? I'm not popular at all. When I am, it's with weird guys. I just kicked out my short-tempered, argumentative boyfriend I was living with until recently. It's too big to live alone, and the rent is high, so I'm thinking of moving. Saying this, she glanced at me and smirked, continuing the conversation. Hey, you have spare rooms here, right? Could I stay for a while until I find a new place? What? How shameless can this woman be? What are you talking about? Of course, it's impossible. Don't just come here and say whatever you want. I didn't want to exchange words. But I had to intervene before the conversation went in a very bad direction. She's in trouble, and if it's just for a short period, why not? We do have unused rooms. What? That was an unexpected suggestion from Paul. Yay! Thank you, Paul. I haven't agreed to it. It's incredible that you can just come here and meet our family for the first time. And say something like that. No staying over. Just eat your meal and go. Holding back my anger, I just said that and got up from the table. Oh? So we can become friends from now on? After meeting a few times, we'll get along just fine. I'll come again then. After saying what she wanted, eating, and finally leaving, my sister said she would come again. A joke, right? Why did you say that? I told you, common sense doesn't work on her. If we show a kind face, she'll take advantage and stay forever, not do any chores. And treat this place like a hotel without contributing to the living expenses. After all the things she has done to me in the past. Defending her like that. But she didn't seem like the person you told me about. She's bright, articulate, and seems like a surprisingly good person. My husband, easily deceived by my sister's outward appearance, was extending his grinning face in a daze. I couldn't suppress my anger at my husband, who was visibly smitten. How can you say she's a good girl when she asks to live at someone's house upon first meeting? Make sure you never let her in when I'm not around, okay? Absolutely not. Pressured by my determination, my husband nodded. All right. It's scary how jealous women can get, being sisters and all. Jealous? What are you talking about? That's what I mean, jealousy. You say she bullied you in the past. But isn't that just an inferiority complex from being compared to Stacy? He used to listen so compassionately and comfort me when we were newlyweds. I've told you before, it's not about feeling inferior. She always wanted other people's snacks, toys, and clothes, and took them for herself. I've been tormented by her selfishness for so long. However, my husband seemed utterly uninterested in my story, responding with a nonchalant well, it's just kids being kids. He said what he wanted to say and then lay down on the bed. I sighed at my husband's callousness, siding with a stranger over his wife. Was he always like this? Disappointed, I went to sleep feeling troubled. For a while, because I took time off for the move, work piled up. And I had many late nights at the office. On the days I worked late, my parents or my husband would pick up Mia from daycare, which allowed me to work with peace of mind. I felt bad for my daughter, but on my days off, I made sure to spend plenty of time playing and bonding with her. However, my husband often had errands to run on my days off, and it became rare for the three of us to be together at home. One evening when I returned home, I heard an annoying voice echoing up to the entrance. Big sis, welcome home. Exhausted from overtime, I came home to find my sister drinking alcohol with a sense of entitlement, despite my clear instruction never to let her in. It was 9 p.m. Mia was probably asleep. In the living room, it was just my husband and my sister. Seeing my sister for the first time in 3 months, her face was flushed, and she seemed quite drunk. The table was a mess with cans of beer and various snacks scattered around. Why are you here? I told you I'd come again. Plus, how can you leave your husband and child and come back so late? Hey, welcome back. Stacy's been having trouble because her ex-boyfriend has been showing up at her house, so she's scared to go home. I couldn't just leave her alone. My husband was nodding as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Then she should go back to her parents' home. No way. Whenever I see Dad and Mom, all they do is lecture me. Get a proper job, stop drifting around. It's much more comfortable here. And Paul is here too. She now casually called him by his first name and looked at my husband with a cloying gaze. My husband was too drunk to hide his delighted expression. Fine. If you clean up and sleep in the living room, I'm going to take a bath and go to bed. Too tired to talk and not wanting to eat, I decided to go straight to sleep. The soothing sight of my daughter's sleeping face was brief, as I could hear their irritating voices all the way upstairs in the bedroom. It's unbelievable how a married man can be so overly affectionate with such a woman right in front of his wife. I thought it was incredibly foolish and utterly disgusting of my husband to be so smitten in front of me. The next day when I went to work, I ran into a colleague from Paul's department in the bathroom. Is Paul okay? He called in sick today because he's not feeling well. What I saw in the morning was the messy table and my sister sloppily sleeping on the sofa, while my husband didn't come out of the bedroom. Probably, my husband, not strong with alcohol, had drunk too much and was hungover. So I took Mia to daycare and went to work without speaking to him. Thank you for your concern. I'm sorry for suddenly taking the day off and causing trouble. No worries, but you've been taking a lot of time off recently. And even when you are here, there are many mistakes. Everyone is worried because you seem off. A lot of time off. I did take time off for the move, but recently I've been stable and my health hasn't been bad. Recalling the behavior of the two yesterday, I had a bad feeling. Though I felt guilty, I decided to leave work early in the afternoon. I'm not honestly ready to face the truth, but I still need to verify it. I slowly opened the front door, making no noise, and headed to the living room. Peeking inside, sure enough, the two of them were together. They were snuggled together on the sofa, with my husband embracing my sister from behind as they watched TV. I expected it, but seeing it in front of me, my head was about to explode with anger. I clenched my fist and violently slammed the living room door open. Ashley. My sudden appearance startled my husband, who quickly stood up. While my sister just smirked arrogantly, that same happy smile she had when I felt miserable. Why suddenly? I heard you were sick today and took a day off, so I came back because I was worried. I heard you've been taking a lot of days off recently. Are you skipping work to cheat with my sister while I'm sweating at work? Were all those errands you had on holidays just excuses to meet her? My husband looked guilty like a child caught lying. But then he suddenly became defiant and raised his voice. Do you have proof that I was meeting her? I hate how logical and critical you are. What proof do I need when I just saw you two embracing? That's what I mean. I can't stand your high and mighty attitude. From now on, I'll live here with Stacy. You should leave. Huh? I couldn't comprehend my husband's thought process. Blaming me and even trying to kick me out after his own infidelity. You're always busy with work and don't pay attention to me. You don't bother with makeup or dressing up, and you don't see me as a man anymore. Stacy sees me as a man, listens to me, and praises me. My sister was smirking and clinging to my husband's arm. It's your fault, big sis. You don't cherish your husband even though you got such a nice house and he treats you well. You're always too busy with work and the kid. Is striving at work for our home and cherishing time with our child equivalent to not caring for my husband? Since my sister showed up, my husband has been frequently missing work and getting overly familiar with another woman in a house with a child. Isn't he the one neglecting the family? But I'm glad you came back early. We decided to talk tonight. The contract on my current place ends the day after tomorrow. And I wanted to move my things here tomorrow. She was laying out her selfish reasoning, disregarding my feelings and pushing ahead with her plans. Sorry, big sis. Not just your husband, but I ended up taking your house too. Thank you. With an innocent smile, she spoke those devilish words as if my rigid expression didn't matter. My husband continued as if to excuse himself. Yeah, I wanted to live with Mia together too. But Stacy said she was scared to suddenly become a mom. So, for now, please take care of her. I see. Your own happiness is more important than your daughter or me. I understand clearly now. With those final words, I wanted to be alone and headed upstairs. Are you going to pack? Please leave as soon as possible. She called out with a laugh. Beyond anger, my heart was so cold I felt nothing. But hearing my daughter's name tightened my resolve. I must fight for her. I'll think this through and act decisively to protect my daughter. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. After opening my eyes, I pulled out my cell phone from the bag over my shoulder and made a call to someone. Now, the counterattack begins. I will make sure they understand that I am not the same person who used to be passive. About 30 minutes later, the doorbell rang. What? Dad, Mom, why are you here? When I went downstairs, there stood my parents with stern faces. In front of my astonished husband and wide-eyed sister. Yes, the ones I had called earlier were my parents. Realizing it was me who had summoned them, my sister snapped at me. You called them? Complaining to parents at your age? Quiet, Stacy. What in the world are you two doing? My father is usually mild-mannered, but he can be very intimidating when angry. And he was indeed formidable now. What do you mean what? We are in the middle of divorce discussions. It's none of Mom and Dad's business. None of our business? How can it be none of our business when you're doing this with your own sister's husband? Yes, sir. I am so disappointed in you, Paul. I thought you were a responsible man who would protect Ashley, but to do something this foolish. With my parents' arrival, my husband, who had been frozen, was nudged by my sister and finally spoke. I'm really sorry. But this is a marital issue, and it's not about one of us being at fault. We just haven't been able to maintain a good relationship as a couple. My husband explained, sweating nervously. Are you trying to blame me? Saying it's a marital issue? You never talked like that before meeting Stacy. Otherwise, why would we have built a house to live in together? That's your side of the story. You're always busy with promotions. Pretending to be busy while neglecting housework and childcare. Not bothering with makeup or dressing up, and not supporting your husband. Aren't you embarrassed as a woman? So that was it. My husband couldn't stand that I had been promoted before him. While I was on maternity leave, I advanced in my career. Which must have deeply wounded his pride, and to hide his pettiness. He pretended to be cooperative in housework and childcare. How petty. Too petty. A small dish? No, more like a tiny sauce dish. Since when does not getting promoted before your husband constitute supporting him? Don't you think the problem lies with yourself for not getting promoted? And what about Ashley have you been looking at all these years? You knew she was never into makeup, always hardworking and diligent. I appreciated my mom's backup. Exactly, I hardly wore makeup even before we got married. Where did the guy go who said he loved me without all the adornments? And he used to complain about not wanting promotions because it meant more work. Yet he envied others. Huh? Come on. Anyway. Parents have no right to interfere in marital matters. Please leave. And take Ashley with you. Judging that he couldn't win with a lie made up on the spot, he tried to kick us out. Oh, Ashley, the divorce papers for Paul are already filled out. So just write yours and submit it. Here, take this. I'll have the movers pack the rest of your things later and send them to your parents' house. Stacy. What are you doing? Despite my mother's attempt to stop her, Stacy pushed a divorce form at us, urging us to leave. So you want a divorce, huh? When I turned back to confirm, my husband nodded as if it were a given. That's what I've been saying, you just don't get it. The house is in my name, so I'll keep it, and I'll pay child support. Fine, let's get divorced. The satisfied look on my husband and sister's faces suddenly turned pale. But since we are divorcing and I'm moving out, you need to properly return the $300,000 our parents lent us to buy this house. I presented the loan agreement right in front of them. What? Yes, when buying this house, $100,000 of the down payment came from our savings. And the remaining $300,000 was borrowed from our parents. A proper loan agreement had been prepared. It was a gracious offer since it saved us from the higher interest rates of regular loans. And of course, my husband and I were grateful. Or so I thought. Huh, but I'm the one living in it as a daughter, so I don't have to pay it back, right? We're family, and I was told not to worry about repayment. Paul also said it was fine. My sister feigned ignorance. Huh? We set up a repayment plan and even signed a loan agreement. And now you say we don't have to pay it back? What do you think our parents' money is? I had made sure to explain it to my husband. Even though my parents are financially comfortable. You never know what expenses they might face in the future. Trying to default on money borrowed under a formal agreement, even if it's from family. Were their expressions of gratitude all lies? Our parents trusted us enough to lend us that money. Dad also said if we ever had more children and found it hard to pay, we wouldn't have to force ourselves. He even mentioned turning it into a gift if necessary. At my husband's words, my father's face turned crimson as he retorted. Even if that were the case, to think you would cheat on your own sister. Abandon your precious daughter and granddaughter. I have not a single penny to give to such a despicable person. Just pay back the money properly. Hey. I'm also a daughter. It's fine if she leaves and I live here. I'm not even working right now, I don't have any money. Quiet, you're no daughter of mine anymore. You've always tormented Ashley. Despite all our warnings? To think you'd continue such behavior even as an adult. I'm cutting ties with you. Never show yourself to us again. It seems my parents were fully aware of my sister's behavior and had been cautioning her. But nothing improved, and she just grew up the same way. Still, my sister kept arguing, unable to accept being told off. Since you're not working, sister, try to repay it yourself. Oh, right. Since you two caused this divorce, you'll also have to pay compensation. I'll have my lawyer contact you later. My husband's mouth opened and closed, wanting to say something. But he was just left showing a foolish face, unable to speak. Having prepared my immediate necessities earlier, I picked up my suitcase, and the three of us stepped outside. My mother hugged me, her eyes tearing up. Ashley, I'm sorry you had to go through this. I never imagined Stacy would do something like this. If only I hadn't told her where we live. It's okay, Mom. It's not your fault. Her personality will never change, I'm relieved the ties are cut now. My husband and she are perfectly matched selfish people, I have no regrets. Sorry for dragging you into this, and thank you for coming. I'll hire a lawyer and make sure they pay back every penny. Don't worry about the money, put yourself and your child first. You must be tired today, let's go pick up Mia and head home to rest. Today truly exhausted me physically and mentally. So I took my father's kind offer to rest at my parents' home. Thank you, Mom and Dad. Having strong supporters like them made me feel I could keep going. A few days later, my dad introduced me to a lawyer friend to handle the compensation claims against the two. And the repayment of the money borrowed from my parents, and of course, child support for Mia. Though we worked at the same company and I was anxious. The rumor that my husband cheated with his sister-in-law and was getting a divorce spread quickly. He became shunned by everyone, left all alone. Where did that rumor start? Well, all I did was explain the reason for my address change. And various divorce procedures when I took leave from work. I was fortunate I didn't have to change my name back to my maiden name since it remained unchanged even after the divorce. Did you tell my boss? That was one phone call I received from my husband. You must have made me out to be the bad guy. No, he was already such a villain that no embellishment was necessary. Oh, by the way, your boss also heard that his wife cheated and they got divorced. He said he heard rumors about you and absolutely cannot forgive someone who cheats. What? So maybe that's why he's been hard on you? Serves you right. Maybe now you understand how unreasonable your actions were. And how much they trouble everyone around you. With that, I said what I wanted to say and hung up the phone. Sometime later, when I heard that my husband had resigned, I jumped for joy that I wouldn't have to see his face anymore. Afterward, jobless and having spent savings on the house purchase, my husband had no money left, and Stacy, still unwilling to work, reluctantly had to let go of the new house. Fortunately, a buyer was found quickly. And the money borrowed from my parents was repaid sooner than expected. But there was still compensation and child support to continue paying. Having held no significant position and being older, it was tough for my husband to find another job. And he and Stacy, with nowhere to go, begged their in-laws to let them live at their house. But with Stacy's personality, she neither did any housework nor worked. And was so self-centered that her in-laws were desperate for them to leave. And pleaded with my husband to move out. Initially, when my in-laws rushed to apologize to us after hearing the whole story from my husband, we had some communication. but I couldn't help but chuckle when they finally managed to kick them out. Stacy had also come to our house once to ask for money. But my angry father grabbed her by the scruff of the neck and threw her out. She hasn't come back since. The last time I saw her, Stacy, who once prided herself on her looks, had no trace of her former cuteness and had aged significantly due to poverty and unhealthy living. It seems my husband wants to separate from Stacy now, but since she refuses to work, she vehemently refuses to leave him. And they are still relying on his meager salary, living together in an old, cramped apartment. But as for me, it was just spite that she stole my husband. They never really loved each other to begin with. It's easy to imagine what a loveless, moneyless life they must lead. I was planning to rent a house near my parents, but they told me there was no rush and to settle down first. So I decided to let my daughter stay with us at their house for now. My parents adored my daughter, and although she initially seemed lonely without her new home and dad, she was gradually enveloped in their warm affection and began to smile again. Thanks to my parents' help, I've done well at work and will soon be promoted to lead a newly established department. Mommy, you're amazing. You work so hard. I want to be a cool woman like you. My daughter Mia said this as she patted my head. It's the best reward for all my efforts. With my daughter and parents who love me just as I am, I've gained confidence in myself. I resolve to live in a way that makes my daughter proud to think of me as a cool mom.